Well, in my last video, I made this silver $1/2 coin ring, and I really like how it came out. Gave me a lot of trouble, but it is by far the most comfortable ring I've ever made. And I mean, it's not the prettiest, and I could still clean it up on the inside, but I want to try again. So I'm going to do another one, but this time I'm going to put the back on the outside of the ring. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. This is going to be attempt number 2 to make a silver $1/2 coin ring, and we'll get to see how it compares to my first one. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is punch a hole in this. I'm going to go get that set up and we'll continue on. So what I'm going to be using today to punch a hole in this $1/2 is my 12-ton Strongway hydraulic press and my Jason's Works auto punch tool that center guides my coin. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this on top of here, and this cone shape is going to auto center that coin so we can perfectly center it. I'm going to go ahead and set this up and work this down, and then we'll punch a hole in it. Alright, so I've just about made contact with the tool here and the press, and I'm just going to go ahead and work it the rest of the way through. Here, pop. There it is. I'm going to make sure that center punch falls out. There it goes. And there is our center punch. Sorry for the dog hair. I'm going to go ahead and get this out of here and burr it. Before we keep going, I want to take a moment to kind of show you how the detail transfers on to the ring, and like how it looks, and like kind of what coin ring makers are looking at when you're trying to find a good ring to coin. Like these are the details on the coin you want to pay attention to. The center punch is pretty cool too, but you want to make sure you've got nice solid details on the outside of the coin. And so I always check and see if my lettering is good. I'm still practicing, so I'm not trying to get the most perfect coins. I'm just trying to get coins I can work with that still look decent shape and I think will make nice rings. So there's a look at that. And since we're doing this one with this on the outside, it is going to end up looking different than this ring. The next step is going to be to deburr this cut edge. This inside cut edge is quite sharp from where we punched a hole in it, and I'm going to use a specialized tool to smooth that out. Alright, so this is my deburring tool. I picked it up at just a hardware store for like $8, and it's got a kind of a curved blade on it, and that's going to help us get the inside edge of this from being really sharp and flush to a more smooth surface. And I'm sorry I can't really show you what I'm doing better over here. It's just, this is like the hardest thing to film, so I'm going to kind of represent what I'm doing. I'm putting it at like a 90-degree angle, and I'm going to turn it and apply pressure, and I'm going to do that to each side until it's smooth to the touch. I do this over a little tray to collect my silver, because you know, silver's worth money, guys. You need to save this stuff. Eventually, if I get enough, I'll probably melt it down and make a ring out of it. I think that'll be a cool little project. Alright, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to speed up this next part of the video until I get this nice and smooth. Starting right now. Still got a little bit of an edge on here. I'm going by feel, so I'm going to deburr this a little bit more. Alright, I think we got it. The next step for this is going to be, I'm going to anneal it, and then we're going to fold it. So annealing a process is a process where you heat up metal and then quickly cool it off by putting it in water, which I've got over here. It's my water. And what I'm going to do is, since this is 90% silver, I'm gonna mark it a couple times with this Expo marker, this dry erase marker. Sharpie works too. And as I'm heating this, I'm gonna watch for that marker to disappear, and that's gonna allow me to make sure I don't overheat this metal and start getting like granulation and imperfection in it. So I'm gonna let this dry off. Shouldn't take too long. And then we can... Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the torch here. And make sure to hold my coin with some pliers so I don't burn my hand. See if we can get this to zoom in on this. There we go. So I'm just going to be moving this around in the fire. Make sure it gets evenly heated up. And really try and pay attention to those marks. Wherever they go, it's done. Ooh, green flame is really nice. Alright, we got the markers gone. And we're gonna take a quick look at it. I don't know. Camera focus is fun, guys. Dude. There we go. Alright, so sometimes we get really dramatic changes when you go from just heating it to annealing it. Sometimes it's not that dramatic. So I'm going to go ahead and dry this off and get to the first fold. Alright, so we're over here on my 1-ton arbor press, and I want to let you know I went ahead and deburred the inside edge again because I wasn't happy with how sharp it was. So it's nice and smooth and shiny now, while the rest of the coin has fire scale on it. And the next step we're going to do is folding this coin, and since we want the bird on the outside, we're going to put it face down. Now, last time I did this, I used a doming block for my first fold. This time I'm going to use this, it's not a reduction die. The name of it's I can't think of it right now, but I got this from King's Tools, and it's designed to allow you to fold $half. So at the top of it here is a recess that perfectly fits that $half in there and allows you to get a nice fold. So I'm going to give that a try. And we're just going to use our 17-degree folding cone to do that. It's not called a reduction die. What is it called? If you know what it's called, put it in the comments, guys. I know I'm going to think of it. Stabilizing die, I believe. I think that's what it's called. So we're going to go ahead and fold this nice and easy. And I'm just going to watch it closely, make sure we don't see anything weird happening. Try and fold it as far as we can. So it's closed up on our cone now. Got a pretty decent fold. It does look like it went a little uneven, but not as bad as last time. And I think from here, we can just try and straighten this out. Shouldn't be that difficult. So you can see we've got a little bit of wobble. This is how I check my rings. Is right after stretching or reducing them, I put them on my press, and if there's a wobble on them, I'll try and push it out with this Delrin pusher. This thing right here, it's pretty cool. It's got a magnet on it. I got this from Unminted on Etsy. Another great coin ring maker. The great thing about this community is a lot of them innovate and make new tools to make it, you know, easier or more interesting. And then everybody else gets to use those tools and kind of innovate and use them in their own way. So we've gotten rid of that wobble. That's pretty good, guys. We'll probably do this side again, but it's better. Again, not the most even fold I've ever done, but I think with stretching and reducing, we should be able to get this looking pretty good. I'm gonna sand this cut edge just a little bit with this nail file block. All right, so I'm gonna try something a little different here. Instead of taking this onto the ring stretcher, somebody suggested that I just try and continue to stretch this out and then put it in the Swedish wrap. And that will help retain the inside detail. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna continue to try and stretch it in this 25-degree die. And I'm gonna use this, I believe, is a wooden cone. This is Jason's Works. I haven't used these very much. This is my go-to cone, but just trying to preserve detail on the inside, I'm gonna use a softer cone and just see how it goes. So we're just gonna place it in here, try and get it as even as we can. And you can see, looking at this, like there's gaps. So you can see it's not perfectly even, it's not resting in there perfect. So I'm really gonna have to pay attention so I don't make that worse. I'm trying to make it better. And we have to have a gap underneath so the cone has somewhere to go. And we're gonna give it a shot. We'll see how it goes. It really didn't move very much at all, which is interesting. And it looks like the die may have actually cut into the coin a little bit, so that may not have been the best idea. This is how we learn, guys. Some things work, some things don't. But you can check how much movement you have in a die by looking through the bottom of it. You can see that's pretty flush, so there's actually not a whole lot of room for this to move. My instinct is just to stretch it, but I wonder what would happen if we just put it right in the Swedish wrap. Well, at least I'm going to anneal it again, and then we'll try and Swedish wrap it. See if I don't totally screw this up. Okay, so we've got our silver $50, which is incredibly out of focus. But we've got our marker on here, and we're gonna go ahead and re-anneal this and maybe just put it straight in the Swedish wrap. That's what I'm thinking. It's my favorite part. Oh yeah. Dry this off and wrap it in some tape and send it through. So before I wrap this in tape, I just want to give you a good look at what we're dealing with right now. We got a drastic color change. That golden color just went away. Now we've got this dull silver, which is fine. We're gonna polish it up when it's done. We've still got a lot of the inside detail looking very nice, which I'm pleased with. On this one, I lost a lot of detail just because I had to smush it a bunch, honestly. Silver is very soft, so you have to be very careful. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna wrap this in plumber's tape, and then we're gonna push it to a Swedish wrap. All right, so we've got my largest Swedish wrap, which I haven't had to use yet, but because the reeded edge is so wide, I'm gonna go ahead and use this one. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place it in here and try and get it as flat and even as I can. And then we'll start pushing. I've been really liking these plastic pushers, so we're gonna start with this medium one and just see what it does. We got contact there. We're just gonna push a little bit, get that tape going, wait for resistance. And that's about as far as this pusher wants to go. I'm gonna check it and see how far we are we're pretty much at the bottom of this. So I'm gonna take it out of here. It didn't really move that far in here, but it really changed the shape of that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put a little bit of extra tape over this and send it through the next die. If I can find my tape. All right, so now we're able to move down to my next Swedish wrap die. And we're gonna get that in there nice and even as we can with our fingers. There we go, sitting nicely inside there. And we're gonna get our pusher. And it's a tight squeeze for this pusher and this die under my 1-ton press, so I really have to make sure we've got enough room. So the first push is nice and easy because it's all tape. We're gonna let this come back up. And oh my gosh, this is going so smooth. And it looks like we chipped her. It's going too smooth. Let's see what we've got in here. Well, looks like we've got a ring. Let's go ahead and size it and see what we're working with. It's about a size 10 without the tape. I'm going to take the tape off, re-anneal it, and shrink it down a little bit more. And go ahead and take a moment to address the little wobble we've got here. That is so much easier to fix on silver than it is on copper. Which I guess can be a good and a bad thing. That's better. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and anneal our coin again. This is what it's looking like right now. And we've got our marker on there, so we make sure we don't overheat it. And I found as it becomes more and more ring-like, it heats up a lot faster. So your initial heat up period is probably the longest one. And it just gets shorter and shorter. So really try and pay attention so you don't overdo it. That's probably good. There we go. Try and get a look at it. And we'll dry that off and try it again in Swedish wrap. Alright, so since I messed up my plastic pusher, I really like these, but I'm afraid I'm going to mess it up some more. I'm going to go to the brass pusher. So we've got our coin, our ring, our coin ring, halfway coin ring. We're going to put it in our Swedish wrap. Make sure we got it nice and even and flat in here. We don't want it to fold unevenly. And then I'm gonna go ahead and try something new. I've got this, just tore off some blue shop paper towel, and I'm gonna put that between my ring and my brass pusher. And this is supposed to help the pusher remain centered as well as reduce damage from the pusher on the ring. So we're gonna try and get this lined up the best we can. And I'm really going by feel here, so I don't want to send this too far. That's about as far as it wants to go. So like, take this off of here. And it still cut the tape off, which is interesting, but I do like having something in between. Yeah, I cut that paper towel too. So I may have pushed it a little too far. But we're really starting to get a ring shape. And check the size. It's at a size 11, so it doesn't look like we really did too much with that push. Just got it a little further down in the wrap, but that's as far as this pusher will go. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this again and get another pusher. Okay, so I've got my ring in here already. I'm going to set this paper towel in there, and then we've got the next size down a pusher I have. And what I really want to do is I want to do 2 layers of this paper towel. I don't think it'll make that much of a difference for centering, but I think it'll reduce the harm. And there's plenty of little wiggle room in there, so hopefully that's decently centered. And we'll just push it until we can feel some resistance from that metal. Yep, feeling some resistance. That's wedged in there pretty good. Alright, you can see it cut that paper again. Or paper towel, I suppose. Here is our ring, and it's gone a little wonky. Silver is just so much softer than copper. I'm used to working with just plain old regular quarters. So I need to try and be a little more careful with what I'm doing. I'll try and flatten this out. Classic. I did the exact same thing on my last one. I guess that pusher isn't lining up and it's going inside of the ring and just cutting it. Which is not great. I really need to figure out how to avoid that. My problem is this pusher is just too small to fit. Well, this pusher bottoms out in the Swedish wrap. So I wish there was something in between these two that I could use. But I'm going to go ahead and file out these gouges and re-anneal this. I don't know, man, this is pretty messed up. But that's what I'm going to do real quick. Well, here is our ring so far, and I cleaned up these inside gouges with a file. I can't say this is my prettiest ring, but I'm gonna try and save it. I had to file off some of the top, and I resanded the bottom. I'm gonna watch this spot right here, make sure it doesn't split. And it's just not very even, so I'm thinking I'm gonna have to stretch this and then reduce it, because when I put it in my Swedish wrap, I don't know if you can see, but it doesn't sit flat. It sits how the pusher put it. So I think I'm gonna have to stretch it and then reduce it again, which is gonna be kind of a pain, but we'll see how it goes. First, we gotta anneal it. And we'll dry it off. Well, now we've got it nicely annealed. You can see where I filed away at it a lot easier. And you can also see on the ring stretcher how just not circular or centered this is. So I'm gonna try and stretch that out and fix it, but man, it's gonna be tricky. So I'm gonna set my phone down and try and fix this. Okay. Let's give it the old college try. This thing is just way out of shape. Yeah. But it's flat on both sides. That's wild. Take it over to my one ton and try and flatten it out as we stretch it. Again, this is still practice for me. I mostly work with quarters. So as you can see, I'm learning here. Good grief. That's so wild. How it can be flat on both sides and so uneven. No, you did. You dropped your phone. Dropped my phone. Good times. Take a look at it. It looks like it's getting better, but as soon as I put it on the ring stretcher, it looks really bad. I'm gonna try and stretch it just a little more. Getting huge. But I really want to try and even it out. Say that's not too bad. Go ahead and re-anneal it and try and set it in the Swedish wrap again. Sorry, I lost audio for the rest of this video, so I'm going to be doing a voiceover. I've gone ahead and marked this coin again, and we're going to re-anneal it. Just heat it up. It doesn't take very long once it's in its ring form, and once that marker goes away, we'll dip it in our quenching water. Look at that orange flame. And let's quench it. So the Swedish wraps had kind of freaked me out, so I took a break on them and I found a big 17-degree die, and it fits in here, so I just decided to reduce it as far as I could with 17-degree dies. This die is kind of a specialty die. I got it in a set, and I can't find it anymore, so I'm sorry, I can't find like a link to recommend it, but it is really cool. I got it to where the Delrin pusher sat at the top, and I wanted to push it a little further, so I put a Sacagawea dollar on top of there. Didn't work super great because of like the lip on the Sacagawea dollar kept slipping off the rim of the coin. So I decided to use a larger coin after a little bit. After a little bit of struggle, I figured out that this one doesn't work very well, at least for a size 15, which is what this was at this point. I had stretched it out really big. So we're back at the same 17-degree die, and it's specifically made for 50 cent and quarters, as you can see on the side. So this 50 cent piece sits nicely into it and allows me to push the ring a little bit further than I could with just the Delrin rod. So I do one side, then I'll flip it over and reduce the other side. Make sure everything's nice and lined up. And this actually worked pretty well. The one problem with using coins to kind of help you reduce a little further is it leaves little gashes on the edge of the coin. I just sand those off. I would like to find something that's more flat, maybe like washers or something that I can use instead of coins, but for now coins is what I have, so that's what I use. And I'm just going to go ahead and reduce it a little further by placing the Sacagawea dollar on top of the half dollar, and that's going to allow me to push it a little further into that reduction die. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing with the other side. I just try and make sure I've got everything as centered as I can, and once I feel any kind of resistance, like where the half dollar meets the die, that's where I stop. So this is only a couple millimeters that I'm pushing it in, but it's going to allow me to go to a smaller reduction die and reduce this ring even further. So see there, it'll now fit in this 17-degree die. And that's what we're going to reduce it in. And so far, reducing with the 17-degree die has gone pretty smooth. The ring is staying nice and even. And we're getting a nice curve shape, which I like. My last ring was a lot straighter than how this one came out. But we're just going to keep reducing it and flipping it over until we get it to the right size, which is a size 9. That's what I wear. So that's looking pretty good. Not too bad. Doesn't look like it was totally destroyed like it did a couple minutes ago. So I'm pretty pleased with it. And it's too big to fit in this die, so I'm going to try and find another one. There we go. Oh, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the Sacagawea dollar on top of it in the die I was using to get it down a little bit further so it'll fit in that next die. It's these little tricks that help you get out of the hard spots. But like I said, when you do this, it does kind of mar the outside of the coin, or the ring, because of the detail on the coin that you're using. You can kind of see that when I flip it over. It's a little scuffed up. And I just sand that out. There we go. We're getting a nice tire shape. Getting it smaller and smaller. Coming along very nicely. And here it is, all nice and cleaned up and shined. I think it came out really good. It's still pretty uneven, and there's some cleaning up I can do on the cut edge there. You can definitely see where I cut into it with the pushing rod, but it's not to a point where it's uncomfortable. And I tried to reread this. I haven't done this before. I think I need a little bit more than 1 ton to get this to work properly. I might have to try it on my hydraulic press, but we did get a little bit of reading off it, but it didn't go around all the way. So this is something I want to try again. I thought since we had the basically blank slate of these edges that I could reread them, because I'd taken the reed edge off. So that was a little fun experiment. I like this tool, it's pretty cool, but it needs a little bit more force than I was able to put on it. And there's the results. And here's a look at our finished ring. Definitely an interesting shape, but I would still call it a ring. I'm pretty pleased I was able to save it from being such a mistake into a ring that I think I'll be glad to wear. I guess I wasn't super pleased with it because I went ahead and broke out this 25-degree die. I wanted to kind of lean into that tire shape that it has. So I made it even more curved with this 25-degree die. This also brought the size of the ring down a little bit more. It was a little loose. And I'm just reducing both sides of this in the 25-degree die. This gives more of a curved shape to it, as you can see here. A lot fatter in the middle than it is on the edges. Pretty cool. I really like how this came out. Well, thanks for watching.